I want to show you one of the features of the book and why I like it so much. And that's because it has a city directory. So if I go to the table of contents and I look for city directory, it's going to be Appendix A toward the back of the book. Now if you have another edition, it's going to be a different page, but it'll be about in the same area of the book. Now this directory lists the adults who live in the community. So if you write about a child, you're going to find the last name spelling of that child when you look up the parents. So you won't see names of children in the back of the book. It starts with city officials. So for example, here's our mayor. Her name is Sabrina DeToli, so we can find her by her last name. And then if we go to the other page, we'll find our county officials. So the sheriff, members of the county commission, the county treasurer, people who work in our county. And then we'll find those people who are judges in municipal and circuit court. So that's an easy way, a quick way to find your officials. They'll also be listed in the back with everybody else who lives in town. Now these abbreviations will help you to understand what some of the occupations are in the book. So you can see they're really pretty easy to understand. For example, attorney. I think if you saw this, that you would figure out that's what it means. But if you have a question, you want to check the abbreviation. And I'll turn the page and there's some more here. Now here is sample entries, kind of show you what those are. So what these numbers do here, it's kind of a legend to help you understand how these entries are laid out in the book. So we have our last name Hurley, Carl, J, and Mary. So when you see a couple, they're married. And so the first person, Carl, is a printer at White's Printing Company, and Mary is an office secretary at Roosevelt Elementary School. They own their home, that means they're homeowners, and they live at 140 Kings Point Drive. Now notice this is not AP style, so you'll have to fix AP style. You have to fix any errors that you see back here, but the name spellings and all the facts are right. Now one thing I like to go over with my students here is that we have another entry, Ralph Hurley, who's a student. R means that he is a roomer, he rents the house, he's a resident at 140 Kings Point Drive. I would assume at first that Ralph is their son. However, we were talking about this among those of us who've worked in the profession. You can't assume anything. We've seen a lot of really strange things. It could be that Ralph, his last name's Hurley, and he's not even related to them, and he rents a room at their house. So never assume, always ask. But if you have questions about the entries, you can go back and look at this example. So here are the entries, and they start with last name first, Aaron, Betsy. So let's look at her. Aaron is the last name, Betsy is the first. So Betsy's retired. R means she resides or rents a room at 410 Hillcrest Street, apartment 302. So that's how you're going to find your people here. So you want to be careful too. So look at these names here. Same last name, but we have Denise, and we have Deborah. So you want to look, usually you'll be able to know by occupation or maybe address which person we're talking about, because every once in a while the people give you the facts in our book on purpose will kind of twist them around to make sure that you find it. In fact, there's another one in here, look here. So sometimes it'll appear as Anissa Ahmad. But remember I told you that Anissa is the last name. So really Ahmad is the first name, Anissa. So check these. If you don't see the last name, then you want to double check, look around and see maybe you have a misspelled last name and it's close to that. Or what I tell my students is if we double check everywhere and we don't find that person, then that person is from out of town and he or she doesn't live in our little community. So don't worry about that. Now, the key here is for you to, the first thing you're going to do is going to go back here and check all of these facts before you start to write. You'll make sure that you have all of your info right. You'll always need to check the names. Sometimes we'll use addresses. Sometimes we won't. I'll kind of tell you when it's appropriate and when it's not. Sometimes the occupation is appropriate, sometimes it's not. So we'll kind of go along the way. We'll walk together through this, but I wanted to show you this really important part of the book.